What is up? This is Dragon Slayer, and I'm streaming live on Twitch, and I'm playing Godot. So Godot's not a game, of course. It is a game engine. It is a open source game engine, so you can make games with it for free. And I have been busy learning Visual Script in the last video that you can find on YouTube, which you can find my YouTube pages my YouTube page by clicking the link below the video, right? Or you can simply Google Dragon Slayer. Should come up on YouTube, maybe, perhaps. If not, you can Google Weber Prime and find my Twitch page as well as my Facebook page, which also has the links to my YouTube page. So there's that. All right, what's up? Last time, here's what we did. I'm going to go ahead and push the right button this time. Sorry, I've been having some technical difficulties trying to get this particular stream up and going, up and running, but I think we've cleared up all technical issues. So let's go ahead and run the program. And this is what we did in the last video. Hello world. Right. So we're going to continue modifying this and improving this. All right, in this video, we will change the size of the rich text label, because right now we've kind of manually set it here. This is the border is the rich text label. We want to do that in script or in Visual Script. Too easy, right? So we'll do that. We will change the size of the rich text label. Did I already say that? We will change the font. We will change the text size. Now, currently, what I'm doing is I've changed the scale of the rich text label, which in effect makes the letters bigger. But, and you may not be able to tell here, the letters aren't exactly clear, right? It's because we're scaling the letters instead of changing the text size. Probably the wrong answer. More on mistakes and bad decisions in a minute. Right, we are also going to center the text with math. Currently, what we're doing is, show you the function. We change the position of the text, and the position is this. We've just taken a guess at what the best position would be for the rich text label, and it looks like it's centered, basically, right? Right, so we're going to, in this video, we're going to do it the right way. Or at least one of the ways that is better than, doing this. Having the values hardwired into your code. We're going to use math to get this value, right? All right, so after that, we're going to change the resolution of the screen. Now, currently, the resolution of this window is 1024 by 600. 1024 width, 600 height. Now, that is a 16 by 9 screen ratio, which is fine. But we're going to look at some other screen resolutions. We're also going to change the color of the background. So right now it's kind of this grayish color. We're going to change that. And we're going to change the color of the text again. We're going to And then at the end, we will change the window to full screen, which in this case, the resolution of full screen for me is 1920 by 1080. So keep that in mind. All right, let's get started then. So the first thing we're going to do is change the size of the rich text label. And again, we simply set the properties here. Well, we're going to do that in code. So we're going to create a new function. And we will call this change. Let's see. Change rich text label size. Right? Go ahead and get a comment out. Again, really like the comments in Godot. Provide us a way to organize our functions. It's very nice visually. All my functions are contained in comments, right? So change the size of the rich text label. Not rich. Rich. Okay. And for that, we're just simply going to click on rich text label. And grab the size property, drag it out into the code. Connect this up. Now, right now, that is the value that was set previously. We're going to create a new variable. Rename it. Rich text label size values. Sounds good to me. And we will edit that variable and we will make it a vector 2. And we'll go ahead and put in some new values. How about 1216 by 288? Now this is going to be way more than we need currently, but we'll get to that. It's going to be way bigger than we need currently, but we'll get to that. So we'll change that value. And now, if we run it now, nothing's going to happen. All right, real quick, and I meant to get to this before I started. This is wrong. Okay, so last time I said that, okay, so this area down here is where we're defining our functions. And this area here is where we're declaring functions. Sort of like a header file. Well, that's completely wrong. What we're really doing here is calling functions. So let's go ahead and change that comment. Call functions. All right, if anywhere is sort of like a header file, like we're declaring functions, it's here, right? But even that's not really that accurate. So we're not declaring functions here, we're calling the function here. Right? So I was going to talk about mistakes and bad decisions. Learning from or taking responsibility for our mistakes and our bad decisions is a key step in the evolution of comprehension. We're never really going to understand something unless we have the competences for understanding, for comprehension. And part of the process of gaining those competences is learning from our mistakes and bad decisions. How can we limit mistakes and bad decisions, i.e., make better decisions and limit mistakes, if we never accept responsibility for our mistakes and bad decisions? So, and that was on me. This area here is where we're calling functions. This function here is essentially driving these functions, right? So, in a sense, it's similar to, say, your main function if you're programming in like C Sharp, Java, or C++. Sort of like that, but then again, not really. That's not accurate either. This is a little different, right? Because we could be driving these functions with a number of functions, not just ready. We could be driving it with uh, process, right? Or enter tree, and we'll get to those. We'll take a look at those in this video. But yeah, this is the function that is basically calling these functions in this program. So again, we're going to go ahead and hook up the function we just created, which was what? Change rich text label size. Okay. Hook this up, and now when we run it, this function will be called, and no change. And that's kind of what we'd expect. However, well, now let's go ahead and change the font. Right. So, well, first off, let's go ahead and get rid of this. If you want to see a change, right? Here we were scaling the rich text label to make the text look bigger, right? So let's just unhook that for now. Run this. And as you can see, we have very little text now. Actually, you might not be able to see that if you're watching this live. So, text too small to read, but because we're no longer scaling that rich text label. We're going to fix that momentarily here. First off, we need a font. All right, so the font I'm going to use, you can Google it. You can go to Google Fonts, in fact, and find this font. It's called Noto Sans. I think that's how you pronounce it. And we're using the bold version of Noto Sans. It is developed by Google, I believe, and it is under the Apache license version 2.0. So it is open source. We can use it for whatever we want. And when you download it and unpack it, you'll notice that a text file comes with the font indicating the license, right? Pretty handy. Anyways, once you get the font, you can just drag and drop it into a fonts folder. Or, well, you don't have to put it in a fonts folder. I simply created the fonts folder for organizational purposes. You can drag it and drop it into here, and you're going to be fine. All right, so once we get the TTF file, the true font file, we're not done. We can't just drag and drop this into custom fonts over here. What we need to do first, well, the best thing to do first is to go ahead and create a new resource. Again, we'll right click on the TTF file, click a new resource, and we want fonts. We have a choice between bitmap fonts and dynamic fonts. We'll go ahead with dynamic font. We'll click the create button, and then we'll name it Noto Sans Bold. And it's a .tres file. And we want it in the fonts file folder. So now we have the true font file and we have the .tres file. Now we can change the font. So we click on the rich text label and we go ahead and drag and drop this. We'll just put it in our normal font. Right. So now we can click on that and edit. We have another space for a font. Okay, here's where we'll actually drag and drop the actual font here. Okay. Now I was trying to figure out a way to accomplish this in code. Haven't figured it out yet. If you can, well, more power to you. Good luck. Wasn't sure how to do that. Maybe at some point I will figure it out. Again, I am still learning. I am a noob. And the series of attempts that I made to try to figure it out with Visual Script was very enlightening, but was unsuccessful in figuring that out. So we'll just default to the editor. We'll do it through the editor for this video. But now when we run it, we've got Hello World, but now it's in a bold font. Right? Or it's in our Noto Sans -bold TTF or true font. So now, well, hello kitty. So my blind cat has joined us for the live stream. Might be getting closer to dinner time. Anyways, she's a blind cat, rescue animal. I'm not sure if she rescued me or I rescued her. She is blind, but she is extremely able. That's why I named her Blind Ninja. She's a good cat, very affectionate. She's sitting on a pillow on my lap right now. She's not spoiled at all. Anyways, enough about my cat. Alright, so next up, we just changed the font. And next we're going to change the text size. Again, last time we used scale, or the rect scale, to change the size of the text. That's the wrong answer. So we'll get rid of that. And we're going to reset this. Alright, so we're using a vector because we are scaling. We're going to change that real quick to an integer, and we're going to make them big. 192. Right. So need a rich text label again. Go ahead and go back to editing this, and we can simply grab the size property, drag it in, right. Set the integer value, hook it up. Now it's asking for an object here, right? If we run it up, if we run it, it's going to give us an error. Well, it's going to get caught in this. The debugger is going to catch it. It's not actually going to give us errors, but invalid set value 192 integer on property size of the type object. Well, this is because we haven't set the object. Right? Well, we could drag this in. We could drag the actual font in, the get font, or the preload of the font. Right? We could try that. No. Because again, we don't want the TTF file. We want the .tres file that we created. Okay, so there we go. And now we are good. Should be, anyways. So, okay, let's give it a save. And bam, we have really big letters, right? Not quite what we want. Again, we're going to go back and center it. But yes, there we go. We've got Hello World in big old letters. They're very clear letters, as opposed to before. When we were scaling, we're changing the actual size of the text because it is a dynamic font, text font, or a dynamic font. We can do this with no problem. Make the letters as big as you want. Right now, the size of our letters is 192, which is fine, which is bigger than our screen, right? So what we could do is we could, hold on one second. Well, first, let's get to centering the text. It's probably going to be our best bet for right now. So, I mean, technically, it would be centered, except our text is really big, right? We changed the size of it, so it's no longer centered. And really, it's not the text that we're centering, it's the rich text label that we're centering. So let's do that now. Again, we're just changing up some of the functions that we were using before. All right, so we are going to change the position of the text. We're going to need a little more room for this function. So let's go ahead and we can left click on our screen and select all these. We're just going to move them down. Okay, that should be enough room. Right, we actually don't even need this variable anymore. We're not going to use it at all. So, what we're going to do instead? Well, this is actually pretty interesting. It's kind of cool. What we're going to do is we're going to use the size of the window, the width and the height of the window, and subtract we're going to use the size and the height of the window, divide that by 2 to get our position centered, and then we're going to use the width and height of the rich text label and subtract that from our center position so that we can center the rich text label in our window. Too easy, right? So how do we do that? Well, first we need to grab the dimensions of the window. So in order to do that, we're going to grab a singleton. Right? Engine singleton. That's what we want. So with our get engine singleton, well, first off, we need to change something about the engine singleton in the properties for the engine singleton. Right now, its constant is performance. What we want is the OS. Okay, so we just change that in the properties, and now we have access to window size. and we want get window size. Okay. So with our window size, here, let's go ahead and print it out, just so you know what's going on here. Oops. Right, we're going to run this, and my text will no longer be centered. It's going to be on the top left, right? But we're going to print the value to our output, the value of get window size. Okay, so hello world is now up here. Right. And it printed out 1024 by 600. Again, that is the pretty much the standard. What's set in the project settings. Under project, go to project settings, and then to display, window, and your width and height are set here in project settings, right? So that is the value in get window size currently. And what are we going to do with this? Well, we're going to do some maths. All right. So divide, math divide. Okay, add that into here. Just put this on over here. Okay. In fact, we'll move this down. Right. Let's get centered. Let's move this over here. All right. So now we have the values of the screen dimensions in this vector A and vector 2B. We're just going to set up here manually in the box. We want to divide A divided by B, or 1024 divided by 2, and 600 divided by 2. And that will get us the center position of the screen, right? We also need to get the rich text label position. So let's see. Actually, we don't need the position. We need the size, right? We're going to, from the size, we're going to figure out the position. Okay. So we have the rich text label size values that we created earlier. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing with that. We will divide by 2. There we go. Now, from that, we need to subtract. Right? We'll just drag that up there. So now we're subtracting this value from this value. And we'll just go ahead and plug it in up here at set rect position. Hook the function up. And let's see. We should probably print that as well. Just hook that up. Right, so let's go ahead and run this, see what happens. Again, all we did was we grabbed an engine singleton, grabbed the window size, divided that by 2, grabbed our rich text label size values, divided those by 2, subtracted those, and plugged those into the set rect position. And we're going to print those out also to our output. All right, we'll go ahead and save and run. Now it is centered. It's beyond the screen here. And if we can pull this out, but it's just going to stay docked there. Anyways, because our rich text label is wider than our screen, but it is centered. Right? Again, it's in the center as far as the height, and it is in the center as far as the width, but it is bigger than our screen. So, and again, the value we got was minus 96 to 156. So that's where we're starting at minus 96. That is the value we're getting when we print. So that's not exactly what we want, right? What we want instead, well, we could handle this 2 ways. We could go back and change the values of our text. We could make our text smaller, and we could also make our rich text label smaller. But what if we make the window bigger? How's that sound? Sounds pretty cool to me, right? So what we're going to need to do is we're going to come up to main, right? And we're going to create a new script. And this will be a visual script, not a GD script. And it will inherit from Node 2D, which that is what main is. And we don't want it in scenes. We want it in scripts. Right? And we'll just leave the name as main. Okay. All right, so go ahead and create. And now what we need to do is a couple things. We'll just go with, okay, so there's a function. And we'll go with ready. Okay, so bring this up here. Bring this down here. And bring out some comments. Right, so what we're going to do here is change the dimensions of the window. All right. Actually, bring this over here. It's probably going to end up being here. Where is my ready function? Usually it just brings it out automatically. Maybe it is out here somewhere and just not seeing it. Well, whatever. Bring it out. Well, that's not it. Okay, so what we're going to do, because this got screwed up somehow, I'm just going to delete it. Oh, I see. I had the ready function down here. That was wrong. I screwed up, right? Let's go ahead and plus. Get back here. We want this guy down here. And then we want the ready function up here. It's fine. Again, we'll get some more comments here. And here we're going to call functions. Okay. So, what do we want to call this new function? Again, we're going to call it change screen or window dimensions. Change window dimensions. Or change window resolution. How about that? Right, so we'll change the window resolution. Let's go ahead and drag this out to where we're calling it. Hook it up. And of course, right now, it does absolutely jack nothing. Right? We haven't changed anything. So what do we need to do to change the screen resolution? Right? Well, one of the ways I've found to do it, again, I don't know if this is the best way to do it. Probably your best bet, if you know you want to start out in a different screen resolution than what's stated, is just to go into your project settings. Again, project settings, under window, under display and window, and you have your width here. So you have your property display window size width at 1024. You can simply change the dimensions here and you're done. And we're going to do things a little bit different. I imagine there's a way that you can change the project settings directly via your visual script. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but there is another way. A way that I did figure out how to do it. So again, there's probably a better way, but we'll go ahead and do it this way for now. We're going to grab a singleton again. Engine singleton. All right, bring this down here. Drag this out. Oh, before we drag that out, we're going to change the property to OS. And right, so we want set window size, right? Right, and we're going to create a new variable. We're going to call this one window dimensions, or window resolution variable values. Okay, and we're going to make it a vector 2. And we're simply going to, let's see, let's go with about 1280 by 720. Again, another 16 by 9 ratio, 1280 by 720. So we'll just drag and drop that in, hook it up. Now we have everything we need, right? Again, we're using the ready function to call this the change window resolution function. Save it. Let's see what happens. That's not quite what we wanted. Right, so the problem isn't quite apparent here. Right? It's not quite, we have what we want here, but it's not quite apparent what is going on. But I can tell you what the issue is. The issue is that we're using the ready function, and this part is going second, right? So what is happening here is that actually, you know what? If you look down here in the output, it's printing out minus 96, 156. Well, why is that? We changed the resolution, right? We changed the Windows resolution. So it should be giving us a different value now. All right, let's go back over here. And back to the function where we're centering things. Okay. So this is printing after we set the rect position. So we're setting the rect position and then printing out the value that we got from here, the actual position. And our position is still at minus 96. So if we were, if it was grabbing the correct window size, then we wouldn't have a negative value here, right? We would be centered on our window. So what happened there? What is the issue? Well, the issue is that this is happening, right? This function is being called before this function is being called. That's a problem, right? Right, so one way to deal with this issue is to go ahead and grab the enter tree function. So we're going to drive our function, our change window resolution, with the enter tree function instead of the ready function. Now there's another way we could deal with this, but we'll get to that. So now when we run it, our text is centered because it grabbed the screen resolution before the center text function was called, right? So now our text is centered. Looks pretty solid, right? Not too bad. All right, so let's go ahead and change this back. And there's another way we'll be able to tell why this is all jacked up. Again, when we use the ready function here, our text isn't going to be centered because the text is being centered before this screen resolution, before change window resolution is being called. So keep that in mind. All right, so what if we want to change the color of the window? Well, we can take a look in here. This is our, no, that's not what we're looking for. Take a look in here under our engine singleton, and let's type in color. Nothing for that. About modulate, nothing for that. So how do we change the background color if not with the engine singleton? Right, one way to do it, and I'm not saying this is the best way, but it works. We'll go ahead and add child node here. Ooh, what about color picker? Probably not what we're looking for, but let's see what happens. Okay, so we added a color picker here. Oops. Let's put it up here. Now we have a color picker. So if you ever need to add a color picker to your program, that's the way to do it. That is not what we want. Right, so let's go ahead and delete that. Por favor. And let's add a color rect. Okay. And we're going to put this up here. It's not part of our canvas layer. It is part of the actual window, part of the node, part of the main. All right, so now we're going to add a script. Oops. Click that. Again, visual script inherits from color rect, and we want it not in scenes, we want it in scripts. We'll keep the name the same. Create that. And too easy, right? We'll go ahead and get a ready function out here to drive our functions. And we'll create a new function. Again, we'll get some comments out. See, no. No, I don't want to move you. I want to stretch you. There we go. Do you want to move it up a little bit? Right. So we're going to call functions here. Not functions. Functions. Right. Me and my spelling, my typing. Alright, so we've got a ready function. We'll go ahead and name this. Change screen color. Okay, we'll drag that out, drop it up here in our call functions section, hook it up. Then we need another comment. And here we will change the color of the window with a color rect. Too easy, right? So let's just go ahead and grab our color here. Just grab the property, create a variable. We'll call this color rect values. Oops, color rect value. How about color rect color values? All right, getting a little ridiculous with the names, but whatever. And we will make this variable a color. And as far as the color we're going to use, we're going to use brown. Again, you can make it whatever you want. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Go 49, 29, 0. Go ahead and add this. Actually, this isn't the color we want for the screen. What we want instead, is orange. Sorry. I was right the first time, sort of. I was wrong. It's just wrong. Alright, so 255, 60, and 0. Go ahead and add that color as well. So now we have our color finished. Go ahead and just drag and drop that in, hook it up to the color value for set color, hook up the set color function to my change screen color function, and then we should be good to go here. So my screen hasn't changed, but now there's a orange little square up here. Close, but no cigar, right? So what do we need to do? We need to create another function. This one we're going to call change color rect size. Right? And we'll get some comments out. We are going to change the size of the color rect. Boom. So how do we do that? Well, we'll just come back up here to our color rect, and grab, pretty sure we have a size here. We do, under rect. Just grab the size here. Right now it's at 40 by 40. It's not what we want, right? So instead of setting these manually or in a variable, we're going to go ahead and set it to our screen size. So for that, we need a singleton. Again, we adjust the property here, the constant property, to be OS. Oops. Window size. Right, we'll get the window size. Let's see. And just plug that right on in, right? And we'll hook up the setRect size function with our function. And we should be good to go. So we'll go ahead and save it. We still need to connect that up. We need to actually call our change color rect size. So we'll call that function with ready. And we'll save, run it. Whoa-ho! Like I said, this is going to tell us what the problem was or what the problem is. So again, this is only filling out 1024 by 600 because it is grabbing the screen resolution from project settings as opposed to what we want, which is the set window size. We want it to grab the window resolution values when we set the window size. So again, that's why we're using enter tree here. So go ahead and hook that up, run it, and now we have hello world. We've changed the color of our background and our text is centered. Too easy, right? Yeah, I know, it's a lot like rocket surgery. All right. So, what else do we need to do? Well, I was going to change the text color real quick to brown instead of bright yellow, which I actually like that color, and it actually looks pretty good with the orange here. Yeah, to be perfectly honest, looks really good. This yellow with this orange looks nice. But we're going to change it. Let's see. We are looking for a color here. Do you have a color somewhere? There it is. Go ahead and edit that. And just so I still have this color available to me, I'm just going to add it. And then I'm going to switch it, not to orange, to that brown that I created earlier. So now, when we go ahead and run it, we have hello world, brown letters, orange background. That's what we're looking for. So, what if we want to run this program in full screen? Again, there's no doubt any number of ways to accomplish this. Probably the best way would be to create a settings function that you can click on your video game. So you have a settings menu and then just change it to full screen from there. But what we're going to do is change it in code. We're going to come back up to our main function. We're going to create a new function. We're going to get our comments out, because I love my comments. Comments matter, because when we come back to this and have no idea what we were doing, the comments are going to tell us what we did. So, comments, change window to full screen. And in this case, it will be 19 by 20. When we go to full screen, whatever values we put in or changed it to in change window resolution will no longer matter. There will be null and void. Well, they won't be null and void. They'll still be there, but they won't. The screen resolution is going to be my screen, which is 1920 by 1080, right? But if we print out the value, it's still going to be there, right? In fact, let's just go back real quick. I want to run this again. All right, so when we printed out the value that we got for the starting position of this of the rich text label, we have 32 for X and 216 for Y, and that's what we were looking for, right? Again, and that's because we're running this from the enter tree instead of the ready function. We're driving our change window resolution with enter tree, so it goes before everything else. It goes before anything being driven by the ready function. Okay. Right, so our new function, we're going to just call this full screen. And we're going to grab a singleton again. Our engine singleton. Bring it down here. Change the property to OS. Drag it out. And we want set window full screen. And this is actually a Boolean. Kind of gives you an idea of how you might use it. Oopsie. And we're just going to set it manually here for right now. Right, so now we've got our full screen function. Let's bring it over. Let's hook it up. Call it. Go and save. And now we have Hello World at full screen with very large 192 size of our letters. They're brown. Our screen is orange. Not too shabby. That's pretty good, right? And that's pretty much all I got, but I'm lying. But if that's all you needed, you could get out now, right? Some bonus material. All right, so let's go back and take a look at this. Right? So again, it's in full screen, but it's being called after the initial resolution in positions. So we have this issue. Can we fix this issue without, by the way, in case you're wondering, when I'm running it like this, I'm using the F5 button to run it, okay? And you can hit the F8 button to stop running it. So there you go. Let's go ahead and first off, let's take this out. Okay. So again, ready function, right? But again, the fix for this is to do enter tree. But what if, okay, so we've taken full screen out. We're back here, right? So what if, instead of using full screen, we use the maximize function for our window? Oh wait, we have a similar problem. This isn't spreading out. This orange isn't spreading out to the rest of the screen. because when we've hit this, we've already called that function, right? So another way to deal with this, let's go ahead and change this to ready. And again, same issue, right? So can we set up our screen using the ready function instead of enter tree and get full screen, right? Or instead use the maximize button and have it look right, have it the way we want it to look. So how do we do that? Right, so we're just going to use this ready function for now. And we're going to go back, and instead of using ready function in these, right, we're going to use the process function to drive our function calls. And this will call these functions and these functions. Grab another process. Right, we're going to drive those functions with the process function, and that means they're going to be called. These functions are going to be called repeatedly, every frame. So one thing I want to do before we get to this, well, two things actually. We've got two things being printed to the screen. Well, as a kind of a proof, we could do this right here. Again, this is at minus 96. That's not what we wanted, of course. We want it to be centered. But just as a proof of what's happening, what I'm saying is that when we drive these functions with the process function, they're going to be called once a frame instead of just at the beginning of the program, as with the ready function. Let's do that. And now it is printing to the output repeatedly. Oh, and it works now. And we can go maximize our screen, and it still works, right? Okay, we look at the output, and it printed this a whole bunch of times. Ideally, that's not what we want. So just for the time being, we're going to take Hello World console function out of here, so that we're not printing that every time. And we'll come back down here to this and just get rid of that print function. All right, so now when we run it again, we're no longer printing a bunch of crap to our output, and it is centered. It's centered. The orange is throughout the screen, and when we maximize it, the orange continues to be throughout the screen, as well as, or our color rect is changed sizes, right? And our letters are still centered, okay? And so when we come back to main and then hook up full screen, boom, it works, right? Again, we're using the ready function now. We don't need to use the enter tree if we're drawing this over and over again, as in these cases, right? So how you want to do it, I guess, depends on how you want to do it, right? I kind of like using the ready, just going ahead and using the ready functions here, and then using the enter tree function to drive these. Again, same effect. The problem with that is that if we do this and then that, it doesn't work, right? So again, it's up to you how you want to do it, right? It's up to you. And I really like just using the ready function here instead of process, but to make, in the interest of being complete, right? Again, that is correct. That looks good. And if we hook up full screen again, we're still good. Okay. So, what do we accomplish in this video? Well, we changed the size of the rich text label. This guy here. Well, not that guy. That's the color rect. Here's the rich text label. We changed that via code. Yeah, so if we unhooked all our visual scripts, this is what would print to the window. Anyways. So, what do we accomplish? We changed the size of our rich text label. We added in a font, the Noto Sans -bold font. We changed the size of the text. We centered the text with math. We changed the resolution of the window. We changed the color of the window with color rect. And we changed the size of the color rect to be the same size as the window size. Then we changed the text color again, and then we changed, we created a full screen version of the window. So, what's up for next time? Well, next time we will make 3D letters, right? So we'll take a look here. Okay, so this is what we have, hello world. And what we want to get to is this right here. Notice the letters have depth. The exclamation points have depth. And also notice that each letter is in its own position, right? That's a little tricky. All right, so next time what we'll be doing is, hold on, let me get back here. Okay, so next time what we'll be doing is making the letters three-dimensional, or faking it anyways. And there's a couple ways to handle that. Probably the best way to handle that would be maybe with a draw function instead of using rich text label, or maybe in conjunction with the rich text label, we just maybe use a draw function to draw the text. I don't know. Haven't figured out how to do it with a loop yet. The way we're going to do it, though, is to create a rich text label for every character. Well, actually, I take that back. We're going to duplicate the rich text label we have, right? And create, I think, 10 of them, and then just move them over, right? Just a little bit, like 1 pixel each, right? Or 2 pixels each. And that will give us the illusion of three-dimensional characters. But we'll get to that next time. So, that'll wrap it up. Again, look for this. This is up on Twitch right now. We are live, but look for this on my YouTube page. It will be up shortly. So that'll wrap it up. There it is. And this is what we're finished up with. Hello world. We've got full screen window. We've got an orange background. We've got brown letters. We've got a different font than we started with. And they look clear, crystal, pristine. There it is. Thank you, Twitch viewers. Appreciate y'all. Dragon Slayer out.